going to be cooking with coffee today. If you haven't already known, I've been experimenting cooking with coffee over the past 2 years or so. You may have seen my tweets here and there with a recipe that I thought was super awesome that I wanted to share with you guys, or pictures of something that I've done with coffee. But anyways, today we are actually going to do chicken wings, because everybody always wants to do chicken wings a different type of way, and they're always experimenting with chicken wings. And if you've seen the past couple of reviews of coffee that I have done, have reviewed for BaristaOnDutY, then you probably have seen some of the highlights of the light roast Vietnamese cafe and the authentic Vietnamese 16 in a medium dark roast. So those are the two coffees that we are preparing. And I've got, what I'm going to do, if I go out of camera, it's okay, I guess. But anyways, what we're going to do is you're going to see part of the experimentation phase and part of, I guess, a little bit of the expertise phase. But anyways, this one is, gotta make sure I don't spill the grinds, but okay, this one is the Vietnamese 16 in a medium dark roast, and this one is the light roast Vietnamese cafe. And what we're going to do is we're going to test it in three different types. And what I'm looking for is consistency here, a certain consistency, because if you remember the notes from the Vietnamese cafe, it kind of had a spicy, very leathery, dark tones, tobacco, molasses, licorice. Those notes were with this light roast Vietnamese cafe, and with the medium dark roast Vietnamese 16, this had smoky notes, but also was encompassed with honey-like scents. So what we're going to do is we're going to brew this in a French press, and you may not think that the grind matters when you're cooking with coffee, but it still matters, just like how it matters when you are preparing your coffee for a regular brew. And I've ground this one a medium. It's a mix between coarse. It's not coarse, it's not fine, but I've ground it that way to get the best flavor out of it. And this one is a fine grind. Adding about a teaspoon of brown sugar to each, a little over a teaspoon. Maybe about 2 tablespoons of butter to each. And at first it'll look a little grainy. That's okay, because you're going to wait for the brown sugar to caramelize. About 30 seconds left for the brew. I'm not going to use all of it. Of course, some of it's for drinking. And I'm not really measuring here, but it's probably going to be about a cup, half a cup of coffee. To each. Once again, this is the Vietnamese medium dark roast, Vietnamese 16 medium dark roast from BaristaOnDutY. This is the light roast Vietnamese cafe that we're pressing right now. And every so often you want to test taste it to make sure it's what you're going for. Oh my gosh, you think this is the one we want? This chicken. It's lightly sweetened by itself. It's naturally lightly sweetened, actually. And then we're going to move over to a Vietnamese cafe, light roast Vietnamese cafe. And this is the same kind of mixture as well. The unsalted butter, the brown sugar, and the French press at a fine grind Vietnamese cafe. Oh my gosh, this is actually a bit sweeter, which is kind of unexpected because the notes that we had originally for that coffee was that it was a very heavier coffee with heavier notes. Not heavier coffee, but it was a heavier noted coffee. It featured the notes such as leather, licorice, smoky wood, molasses, and tobacco. So once again, I think that was the same one that I suggested to enjoy with a lighter cigar, and now we see that some of the lighter taste characteristics are coming out when we pair it with the brown sugar and the butter. I think they both will go well on the chicken, and so we'll show you that soon. What we want to do is we want to give the coffee its own characteristics with the chicken. We don't want to burrow the chicken down with all the flavor that we're used to putting into it, but we just want to lightly season the chicken so that the coffee flavor begins to take over the flavor of the chicken itself. And what we're going to do is we're going to take each of these and apply the glaze to the chicken. And what we don't want to do is overpower the flavor of the chicken with original seasoning, but we do want to take the coffee pairings and let them consume the flavor. So a little hint of salt for each of them. Got a secret recipe from my dad that he brings when he's in Florida. So lightly glaze that with that. So let's roll this a little bit again, just so that the flavor hits all the chicken evenly. Scoop a couple tablespoons out here, and also throughout the duration of while it's on the stove top, stirring it to make sure it doesn't over caramelize or sit for too long. That keeps the flavor throughout. Oops, try not to waste it. But that keeps the flavor throughout the glaze itself. And so you just want to go ahead and wet that. Maybe 2 tablespoons per each bowl. And then I'm going to go ahead and get that stirred up in there. And again, this one is the Vietnamese 16 medium dark roast. And this one here is going to be the light roast Vietnamese cafe. Okay, remember 2 tablespoons for each bowl. There is some of the coffee glaze still left in the pan. We're going to use that for later, once we stick it into the oven. Okay, so we've got our coffee glaze, got our coffee glazed chicken wings, and we've already buttered each bowl up. So we can go ahead and start putting this into the oven. We'll just go ahead and dump it in there so it gets the extra glaze off of that. And what we want to do with this is, although the sauce is still very much a loose liquid, what it's going to do in the oven is it's going to create a thicker glaze. Remember, every time we cover it with the coffee, 1 to 2 tablespoons. Okay, so this is the authentic Vietnamese 16 medium dark roast, and we're going in head first. Oven's at about 400 degrees. Okay, and this is our light roast Vietnamese cafe. Again, letting the extra glaze hit the chicken. And about 1 to 2 tablespoons of that glazed on top of the chicken. Okay, We're going to send that one in. We'll give it about a good hour, and throughout the whole hour, making sure you're monitoring the temperature, letting it stay at about 350 to 400 degrees, and also continuing to glaze the chicken throughout the time. See you in an hour. Okay, so we are out of the oven and ready to taste. This one right here is the authentic Vietnamese 16 medium dark roast, and if we remember correctly, this one had a cup profile that was very balanced with a mix of smoky and honey notes. And so we're just gonna taste it a little bit. The scent that I actually get here with this first before we taste it, and no, we didn't cook with the basil. We garnished the plate with the basil, and with the basil we have a sweet lemon cookie scent, and without the basil on the plate it's still a smoked honey scent to it, but it's kind of a smoked honey tart, which is pretty fun. So we're gonna taste. Very fun. And actually the basil got on that a little bit, but still a mix of honey. It's more muted, sweet, and you still get that smoky taste to it. Okay. And so this one is the Vietnamese Cafe from BaristaOnDutY, both of which are from BaristaOnDutY. And if you remember, this one had the dark notes to the cup, very tobacco-y, molasses, licorice. But when we tasted this one, or when we smelt it, a lot of the fruity flavors that we got in the wet aroma came out. So let's see if we get surprised by that. Okay, so this one, the aroma, and cooked with the chicken, was kind of a baked cinnamon bread scent to it. But the taste, once again, we referenced the wet aroma scents of the dark fruit berries, such as raisin and plum, and that's what's brought out here, still muted by the tobacco-y and the darker notes, such as the licorice and molasses. So I think both are incredible dishes. And now here comes the drink suggestions. I would suggest these to be paired with a Malbec or a Riesling, and I think you will enjoy that both on each side, each scale. And that's all we got. So welcome to the Cooking with Coffee section of Confessions off the Coffee Junkie website. Thanks!